I'm Nedra Kinerk, and I want to welcome you to the Futuro RGV discussion series with Valley leaders on Pandemic 2020, Lessons for the Future. And our guest today is Mission Dr. Carol Perez, Superintendent of the Mission ISD Schools, and our discussion moderator is Felipe Salinas with Futuro RGV. And I want to thank first the Futuro RGV sponsors who help bring these programs to you. That's Rhodes Enterprises, Sam Garcia Architect, Frost Bank, IBC Bank, DHR Health, Clark Chevrolet, Rio Bank, DTM, Val Peason, Ernie Williams, Code RGV, Copy Zone, and the Upper Valley Mail Services. Now, these discussions will be on the Futuro RGV Facebook page, on YouTube, and social media for further viewing. A new leader will be presented each Thursday at 2 o'clock. And now, Felipe, I will turn this over to you and Dr. Carol Perez to help us understand what we are learning to cope with this COVID-19 pandemic. Felipe?
Good morning or good afternoon. Thank you, Nedra. And Dr. Perez, thank you for joining us for this series. I hope you're doing all right. So, yes, Dr. Perez.
Yes, sir.
Well, great.
Thank you for hosting us.
Definitely. Well, we really appreciate it. As Nedra said, our goal is with these series is to basically hear from different leaders from different segments of our community, and not so much with a focus on what's happening right at the moment, but more in terms of looking forward, what we're learning from this. But I would like to begin by asking you, since we're here at the time this is, currently, schools are about to open once again. So my first question to you, Dr. Perez, is we know that Mission CISD has approved plans for the start of the fall 2020 semester. So can you just give us a few highlights of what those plans include in terms of remote versus in-person instruction, and maybe a little bit about what it means for teachers and staff concerning your expectations for them?
Well, starting at the end of June, we were getting ready to have a short break, a couple of weeks at the administration offices. And at that time, we knew it was kind of early to survey our parents because our school calendar had been approved since early spring, and the beginning of the school year was set for August 17. But we still did the survey, and the unique about our survey was that it drilled down to the specific child, knowing that each family may have one or more children. So we needed to know, how is it that your child learns best? Not as a family, but as an individual child. So the questions were, the type of devices that the family and the child has access to. Also, giving the opportunity, live instruction, virtual instruction, Google Classroom, where the children and the teachers are able to pace the instruction, or instructional packets. Some children just need the paper pencil, or a variety. At the same time, we wanted to know, do you need devices at home? What type of devices do you need? Chromebooks, do you need internet, or do you have internet? So and also at that time, we thought that we would be able to provide in-person instruction. And so we provided that choice to our parents. Do you choose in-person instruction in the classroom at school, or would you like remote instruction at home? At that time, about 40% of our parents chose to send their children. So 40% of the children would be coming to school. We knew that at that time, beginning the end of June and July, things were going to get worse. But at the same time, we needed to have that data so that we could begin preparations. And we knew that as soon as we came back on July 15th, we needed to provide another service. But prior to coming back on the 15th, administration began their new school year calendar days on July 15th, which was last week. We knew while we were out on break for 2 weeks that the situation was getting worse. So in working with the school board as a team of 8, we came up with the decision that we needed to hold an emergency board meeting and come up with a resolution that we were going to propose to our county judge to have remote instruction at home. And at the same time, we could provide in-person instruction for essential workers and or children with special needs whose placement was best met at campus, and of course with parent choice. However, the board approved the resolution, gave me the authority to appeal to our local leaders, our mayors. We're a consolidated school district. We serve the 3 cities, Mission, Palmhurst, and Alton. So the school board and I reached out to our city and county leaders. We had, as superintendents, a Zoom meeting with our county judge. And the next day, Dr. Melendez was part of that Zoom meeting, a week ago. And Dr. Melendez, that's when the following day he put out the order.
And you're referring to Dr. Ivan Melendez with the county?
Ivan Melendez, yes, our health authority. And that's when he recommended remote instruction up until September 27th. Now, we were very relieved because our staff was very apprehensive and our families were getting very apprehensive as well. So we knew that this was the best way to go. So we immediately continued with our plans for remote instruction up to September 27th. Then the governor came back and said that we can provide up to 8 weeks of remote instruction. Then on Monday, we had a special board meeting with our board of trustees. And
you're talking about Monday, July the 20th?
Monday of this week.
July the 20th, yes.
July the 20th. And we asked the school board to provide or approve a revised calendar for the school year. And we decided to move the beginning of the school year from August 7th to September 8th, to move it back because of the need of more preparation. Now that we needed to survey our parents again, that 40% of children that would be attending in person more than likely would not, based on the current situation with COVID-19. So we're in the process of getting that data. At the same time, since March, we had been preparing in ordering devices and things like that. So to be ready, our school board did approve the calendar to be moved back 3 weeks. We were able to tweak our calendar. So the end of the school year will now be the first week of June. And then we took some days during the year, holidays or work days, things like that, to make sure that our staff didn't lose working days. Our teachers must have 187 days. And then our children must have certain minutes of instruction. So we did that. It got approved. At the same time, we asked our school board to approve additional purchases of devices, which I'll elaborate later.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I mean, that sounds like, early on the district was beginning to address this issue, but you've had to adjust as, different rules were changing from the state and from
yes,
the county.
and the type of instruction that we will be providing now, it's what we call, the Texas Education Agency said synchronous, which is all live instruction, or asynchronous, which would be a combination of virtual, live instruction, the Google Classroom, where students are able to work on their own pace. Teachers are also able to record lessons for students to be able to go back and view them. And then there's children that prefer paper pencil. So we're going to be able to provide a variety of different medium and instructional models and techniques to meet the individual needs of our students. But through all of this, it must be we know how children learn best. It must be highly interactive with hands-on instruction.
Sure. So, of course, the situation is changing, daily as we're going through the summer. Tell us, whenever in-person instruction eventually comes, there still may be some concerns about putting into place certain health and safety measures because, this might take even additional months until the vaccine is widely available and so forth. So can you tell us a little bit about what measures Mission CISD is taking or will be taking to ensure the health and safety of the students and the staff once they are back in the classroom? What are you prepared to implement depending on what the situation is then?
We are prepared to implement, of course, the guidance from the Texas Education Agency, which several weeks ago they released new guidance. During the summer, we started planning with some very stringent regulations, which were published for summer school. So we started working with those type of regulations, making sure that there was minimum visitors at the campus level, that we had the sanitation stations ready for children arriving, having multiple entrances, and that would be monitored. At the same time, it was left open whether we would do temperature checks or not. We as a district prefer to not only do the questionnaires, but also do daily temperature checks, which we've been doing with our adults anyway. So just a variety of cleaning and disinfecting protocols, several times during the day, the same thing with our buses and so forth. We are also looking at the recommendations from the WHO and also from the CDC. So we're going above and beyond what TA has implemented or asking us to implement.
So you mentioned, you touched a little bit earlier about the part of your surveying, and you're preparing to ensure that students for the remote learning or the synchronous or asynchronous learning is happening, at a distance. The issue of either access to devices or internet. Can you tell us a little bit about what the school district is doing to ensure that all students who need that option have that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we had an idea as to which neighborhoods have more need in terms of towers for internet service and so forth. Also, we were able to kind of do a dry run with our secondary schools. We did have virtual or remote summer school, and it was online for our secondary students. So what we did was we pooled Chromebooks, because at the secondary schools, we do have what we call computers on wheels, COWs, that the classroom teachers have. And the last couple of years, we've been purchasing a lot of that type of technology. So we were able to pull those Chromebooks, at the same time also purchase hotspots for the children that responded, whose parents and children responded saying, I'm in need of these devices. So we hired staff to come and disseminate, check out the devices and so forth, make phone calls, and we did all of that. At the same time, even in the spring, we did some of that, especially with our juniors and seniors that we knew had that need. The problem now moving forward that we ordered devices, when the pandemic started, when schools were closed. However, there is a 10 to 12 week of delay and the delays from the vendors is also due to COVID-19, transportation, production, many school districts purchasing, and so forth. However, like yesterday, we got an email where they're stating, 144 Chromebooks have arrived. The cases haven't arrived, but do you want them mailed? And we're like, yes, send what you have. But we do always, as you know, have a plan B, C, and D. So what we're doing now, we're going into every secondary school from now to September 8th. We're pulling all of our equipment, all of our Chromebooks, all of our tablets, everything. And right now, we have a little bit over 2,000 families that do not have internet service. So what we've done is we've secured some hotspots. And what the vendor tells us is that with one hotspot, in a family, they can connect up to 10 devices. So children will be able to work from an Android phone, an iPhone at the same time, with an iPad or a Chromebook. But we have plenty of Chromebooks to be able to provide to the children that don't have any type of device. So right now we've got our technicians pulling all of those Chromebooks, cleaning them up and pairing them with hotspots and so forth so that we can be ready. And that's one of the reasons why we moved back the school calendar, because we want to be ready even though those new orders don't come in.
Right. I can imagine that must be really challenging because, as you mentioned, not only Mission, but many school districts all over are trying
Absolutely.
to prepare for this. So, yeah. Dr. Perez, just to step back a little bit, thank you for the updates as to what Mission ISD is doing in terms of these couple of areas. The pandemic has forced every sector of our community to navigate uncharted waters and learn how to fulfill our missions in very different ways. Mm-hmm. So what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned in your role as superintendent through all of this?
Well, the biggest lesson has been to continue to be flexible and responsive to the needs of our community, our students, our parents, and our staff, and make sure that we're empathetic to the situation and the hardships that our families and staff members are going through.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I know in a previous conversation you and I had about a month and a half ago, you also, one of the ways that I saw that coming out is your very extensive efforts to ensure that the feeding programs continue. And we didn't even touch on that, but I do know that the school, the Mission ISD is going to continue that.
Exactly.
Meals and
well, as a matter of fact, we were the largest school district in the Valley to have implemented the Meals to You program, which is from the Hunger Relief Program from Baylor University. We were able to enroll 12,000 out of our 15,000 plus students in the program. And as a matter of fact, they've allowed the program to continue. The last shipment of meals will be August 15th, and they sent the meals for breakfast and lunch for the following 2 weeks. So our kids will be covered through August. Now, through our child nutrition program, we're trying to work with the Texas Department of Agriculture to see if we can continue and now provide meals to our students as we move forward into the school year. So what we're looking at is providing meals while we have the remote instruction, where parents can come and pick up the meals for the children for the whole week, breakfast and lunch for the whole week. And this way we minimize their outings.
Well, Dr. Perez, looking ahead, what do you think are some of the longer term implications of these past few months for public education in our K-12 schools? What do we as a community or state need to address in terms of either policy or operations to ensure that we are better prepared to face similar situations in the future?
Yes, long-term implications are social emotional learning. Our children, have been at home. That interaction with other children their age. So that, you know, they've been away from their peers. And we as human beings, you know, that is essential to our being, to be able to interact with others and so forth. So we, even through the spring and even the summer with summer school, uh, and our counseling staff, we have prepared lessons for social emotional learning. Our licensed professional counselors, we were very fortunate that last year we hired 4 licensed professional counselors, and we just hired another one. So we have 5, along with our counseling staff. They have developed lessons, because we know that if we don't take care of the children's basic needs, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know, which is, you know, the shelter, the food, the emotional needs, then how can we teach children academically? So we've got to make sure that we teach the whole child. So there will be, you know, lessons incorporated during the day to make sure that we get to talk to the children, and to make sure that they're comfortable with this new normal. And so that's something that we got to work towards. Also, you know, our lessons, we've done a lot of curriculum writing. You know, the pandemic did catch us by surprise, that we had to shut down school, and right away we had to implement, you know, in-home instruction and so forth, but we've learned a lot. So our curriculum writers with committees of teachers have developed lessons. They will have videotapes as well to provide parents with support as well, how to navigate the different systems and so forth. So we built in 9 days of professional development for our teachers at the beginning of the school year, now that we've moved the calendar back. And there will be 6 days of district professional development on remote instruction, the ins and outs of it, and also by grade level, by content area, and so forth. And then at the same time, those videos will be available for parents that deal specifically with parent needs. How do I support my child? We will also have a homework hotline.
Oh, good. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, it's what I hear you saying is that as we go forward, I mean, I'm sure there are going to be all kinds of responses at the state and, you know, different levels, people trying to prepare for the future. And there's going to be a lot of technological type things that are on the agenda. Let's not lose sight of the fact that our children have emotional, social, and behavioral and emotional needs that need to be attended to. So
Yes.
it's impossible that we should forget about that.
Well, you know, and just to add to that, the state put out a grant related to COVID-19. And this grant is for social emotional learning as well. And we were very fortunate as a school district to receive one of those grants. So the Texas Education Agency contacted us late in the spring. And we have 10 of our schools that qualified for this specific grant, and it's based on need as well, you know, low socioeconomic needs and the needs of the community. So 10 of our schools will be receiving a coach that will be working with at least 180 children, the neediest children or the hardest to reach children, based on their situation at home and so forth. So we're going, aside from the campus counselors, our licensed professional counselors, we will have these 10 individuals plus a project manager to assist us. And this was put by the governor and the Texas Education Agency to provide that support. And that grant is for 5 years. Aside from that, they're providing us with $250,000, which would be $5,000 a year per campus for these 5 campuses to purchase supplies and materials for the children and staff. So we're very pleased with that.
Well, very good. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Perez, for joining us today, and continued good wishes. As the start of the school year is still going to be a learning experience for all of us, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Thank you for the invite.
Great. Nedra, back to you.
And this concludes our interview with Dr. Perez. Keep tuned to Futuro RGV Facebook page for more interviews with our RGV leaders telling us how to cope with this pandemic. Thank you.